Okay, so thank you for attending today's webinar. Today we are going to discuss about agentic AI and patent expert copilot framework, especially focused on the licensing and litigation intelligence. And we have two topics. We focus on in general patent, and we are going to focus on in a separately the standard essential patent is some of the specific patent part of the patent actually need some additional specialties required for the licensing and litigation for this type of patent. So we have two topics for each, and then we're going to talk about licensing and litigation, and also like we are going to have some like a POC type demo today. Okay. So I think that because usually I share my presentation already, so I think that there are a lot of topics to discuss today. So to operate efficiently, I think that from my previous experience has the webinar that I had before with the demo. Usually, it was a time limitation, so I could not show the demo fully. So today I'm going to do kind of like more starting from the demo, right? And then you will see that the like a snapshot what the demo looks like. And the demo is just showcase the best part of this compiler. And then, so I think that it may be better starting from the demo. So you will see that, and after that, you like have some full explanation of the what the demo means, and then general frameworks that I explain is maybe the better way to organize this webinar. Okay, so first I will show a demo. Okay, let's see, to make this one. Okay, let's see. Can I this one smaller? Because okay, here. Okay, so this time actually I tested this morning, so I checked that they are working. So I just ready to start because it had I have about four demos. So so basically this demo is a POC, so it's not fully implemented the framework. But it show every kind of like a best part of the like the what the framework means, right? So usually in this demo actually the pattern expert is me, right? So it's co-filer with me. So and then the party agentic AI is ChatGPT is I just using prompt engineering. So if you are expert in large language model programming or whatever, then and then you have like some general framework like agentic AI, you know about how to do and how to design whatever. And then there are two types because you can fully implement, you know, like a Python type coding and then link with API tools, the database, everything, right? It's the cloud based whatever, right? But people doing actually this demo is not efficient to enough to be used as a commercial product or whatever that other people can test. But I have a lot of experience doing this kind of POC based on my previous innovation. I did more than dozen this kind of the type of the innovation before for different topics. So I'm very confident about this prompt engineering ways to show demo. So this one is the actually I tested. So this is first one is the pattern expert co-filer framework for licensing intelligence. So actually that the sum of part of the because it is I just this has several part actually that I will explain later, but it's all kind of like a whole life cycle of license patent licensing process. So some part actually I already developed much deeper level because it is orchestrate of the all different procedure at one part. But actually I tested individual as a module and then the deeper level testing. So for example, that I had focus on healthcare and healthcare licensing, and kind of pharmaceutical or digital healthcare or the medical device or the biomedical stuff. So I already tested, and then I found that it learned very well. So I just so this is just snapshot. So I will show you kind of like very short, kind of like a short time, like a demonstration. But you have to understand that each demo part, each stage, actually I develop further in a different level. So I tested intensively for each part. This show you that first one is so that's why that I currently in innovation side. I'm currently focused on the healthcare side. So I'm very familiar with healthcare innovation now. So this is one thing that I have an example is from the healthcare innovation. So this is one of the example from the healthcare patent. So, just utilizing that as for example, that is starting from the given patent, right? Because profiling or pathology image for clinical application, whatever. If you're not in the healthcare, that's okay. So you just think about this is a healthcare type of the patent, and then starting from this, it go over the full life cycle of the patent licensing, and then it divided by the several stage. And then each stage is co-working with me that it'll be ask about show the result, and then it discuss about like is there any kind of improvement, whatever. So it interact with me in every stage, right? So that's why I call co-filer, and then I will explain later about what's the general like my idea why I doing like this kind of co-filer. Okay, so and then I said like okay, so let's just start. So I said like for example, start we do. Yeah, definitely. 'Cause if I have a voice interface, and then you can interact with your agentic AI in the voice interface, right? So if you have a voice, and so it depending on like your interface you develop. So it's starting from this patent. And then it has like this is called in the agentic AI terminology is a perception, right? So this agentic AI try to understand what is your intention, right? So I designed that in prompt to engineering design that when you have this interaction, and then I provide what your function and law or whatever I define already defined, and then it like a process that it understand the given patent number, right? It try to understand the patent, right? So it do like the human patent expert doing the same thing because I'm a patent expert. So I provide the framework based on my understanding, my experience, and my knowledge. So it performed the exactly same thing what the patent for example I'm patent attorney, so patent attorney or the patent expert doing in this process. And then it try to understand specification, and it's the same thing. Like once you understand specification, and then in view of specification, it try to understand claims, right? And then and then and then it try to understand from this pattern because a pattern has several meaning, right? Because how you interpret your patent, right? So for me, that I have 30 years in technology, and then I use patent for different type, right? I can use patent as a kind of like, for example, the technology side. What you can think about is market side, you can understand as a business side, whatever, right? So it because a pattern is a claim part is usually is a legal kind of like a terminology, but in general, pattern provide many different meaning how you get inside, right? So it try to understand all aspect. that relate kind of like patent licensing. Okay, then it tried to understand in that innovation, right? So it tried to understand what is the innovation of this patent. So and then it tried to understand, oh, okay, so it is the pathology plus AI diagnostic, right? And try to understand what is this innovation, right? And then it tried to understand based on this innovation, what kind of product, market, whatever is enabled. So basically, I speed up. So I just say like, okay, go. But usually in real life, when I develop this one, and actually that because you know that usually large language model has a bias and hallucination, many different type of the errors they have, right? So you need to be checked verify. That's why the human co-filers function is verify and oversight. And then basically, if it is not correct, you provide instruction that why this is correct, why this is not correct, and what is the better way. You should be communicating with this agentic AI, right? That's how I did, right? So when this one as a developed as a product, really a little bit of platform based, and then provide the technical interface, right? So all the results will be a bit different, right? Because of the interaction between the AI agent and then human, right? And then it depending on the human, right? His expertise, experience, kind of, and what kind of interaction was done. So result will be completely different, right? and then and then it tried to understand that by this one actually if it tried to find out it's a market wise and then IP wise it could all kind of like the interpretation it can be done. And then it just give you the summary what have done, right? And this stays actually the yours sort of oversight that, and then you check everything, and then you think of oh I think that this is not the reality or whatever. So you can have a still interact with your agentic AI, and then maybe one of the function of the agentic AI is the self-learning, right? So it learn from interaction with you that it'll give you a better answer. So it done all partners, and then next stage is licensing. That because the licensing is based on what's the potential of your patent to be used in product or service or whatever, right? So you need to know about what is the market intelligence, okay? So it give you the all kind of like okay, so you look at the what is the market for this segmentation is this that has a meditech AI, something like that. And it give you the what is the use case, the pathology lab, oncologist diagnostic, pharma partnership, academic, medical centers, or whatever. And then it find out generally that if you're a startup innovator and then if you prepare pitch deck and then usually what you're doing is a total addressable market. It's a whole market, including your product, and then targeting segmentation, right? So it do the same thing, right? It's the same thing. The market analysis can be done. So usually this side is rather than side of the patent kind of like expert. For me, I've been 30 years and doing different type of things. I can do market analysis, other valuation, whatever. But usually this role will be the one team. So usually that in this side, actually the patent like an expert, meaning the human part, maybe multiple person is all team can be involved, right? So it's a market size growth and the segmentation and stretching market fit. So it give you that license attractiveness score like 8.4 or in a 10 scale, right? And then you find out the market, the potential of the implement this pattern as a product service, and then you want to identify that who might be interested in license, right? This is the most important part, right? And then it tried to find out that what is the license that will be interesting. And so it search over because it already know about the market and market segmentation. So it has it's a two ways, like 'cause you have like some existing database provider. You can access database like there are many kind of like industry information database utilizing. So you can access through the like if it that's a fee base and you buy API and then look at it. And otherwise you can also doing like in a general search like Google search type. So agentic AI can do, right? So this is one actually that I didn't buy any API. I just look at the in the general internet wide like a search and then they find out who the in a known company and then they figure out which company might be depending on their market segmentation, their product wise, and then it identify five like Roche Phillips and Page AI, Pass AI, something like that, and then it evaluate like the licensing history score is that this company has in a in a like industry wise they are known in the previous record of the licensing out licensing in. So they has usually this company also license out, but usually we are looking for the license in. So we want to license out our patent, our the analyzed patent to this company. So there will be licenses. So it try to find out if they are the old history that they have a license very similar type of technology, then they will provide high score, right? And then strategic fit score, something like that. It give you some quantify that, and then it give you the which company might be mostly interesting in your patent portfolio, right? So you find out the target potential licenses, and then you need to be approach them, right? You need to provide something, right? So usually you need to provide advanced use, whatever, is a strong point, right? Because not only provide like market-wise potential and product enablement potential, the best way is to like something to imprint, right? So anyway, because there is a strong point about like your claim, right? It's kind of like you do the same thing in the due diligence in the litigation, right? So you try to find out the evidence to use claim chart, right? And then based on their company, right? So whether their existing company, so they have their own product, and then try to find out which product might be within the scope of the claim of the year, the 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 pattern you analyze, and then they give you some insight, right? And then once you find out that what it may be this process is you will not done in parallel, right? Because in series of the so this might mean that I just provide the whole life cycle of the licensing process, but in a time gap, right? But that's why I test each chunk by chunk, and then I test each stage, right? And then it will be integrate, right? Because it will be it's utilizing through your like whole life cycle of your licensing process, right? And then also have you like valuation and deal structuring and licensing scenarios and valuation range, right? And then also have you the negotiation. It'll give you this kind of insight. And then even they provide guidance about the post-deal monitoring. It give you finally that final delivery is a pattern licensing intelligence report, is a pattern asset profile, market intelligence, license match report, evidence pack, valuation range, negotiation side, and monitoring dashboard, right? So this is the end of the demo, right? Okay, so I will do this, but speed up. I don't have time because already spent 20 minutes for this. But I provide a detailed exploration and so okay, this one. So at this time, this is I also tested. It's a litigation, so same thing. You can think about that during the litigation life cycle, right? And then if you're a litigator, then you know about the whole cycle. And then I cannot do whole thing, right? But I just like in a milestone and during the litigation and pick up the very important part, right? And then they try to do to support you like as a co-filer. So demo, then it give you like a case intake, right? A docket filing. So I just provide in the Haskell litigation that has it. So I just use that one. So and then it this use this case as example, and then it'll start, and then it provide case timeline and parties analysis, and then it have you due diligence. And then also looking at the whether embedded analysis is possible, right? And then looking at the damage and valuation. And then how about the risk assessment? And then strategy recommendation about this litigation. And then it'll give you the final report. So this framework is of mine, right? Because it based on my judgment about which one include, right? Because if you are the more, if you have a other kind of like a process you like it, you can implement it. Because that's my design concept. It will be flexible. So it's the agentic side and then human side will be flexible. So and then you can add up and omit whatever the in the because I just modularize because I test one by one, right? So you can test it one by one, and then include more or the omit something. So this is flexible framework at the modularized, and if you want implementing your own like a life cycle of the licensing or the litigation process, you can do that. Okay, so this is for the general, and then I focus on healthcare case, and then I will talk about this is the one actually it's SEP, right? The personally, my technical expertise are highly in wireless communication, right? Because I have 30 years experience in this space, and then my first job after my PhD and short time stay in university was a South Korean government regulator. The ministry was like a communication and information, like oversight all telecom, spectrum engineering, kind of like all kind of deployment and the government policy and standard activity, something like that. So that's why I working in the space like up to 3Z. So I've been to ITU, right, EHG, and many kind of like standardization and the adoption of the wireless, all kind of wireless communication. That's why I'm very good understanding of the basic like engineer level understanding. And after that, actually, I became a patent attorney, and then I working on 45Z as a attorney, right? So different view, but anyway, because this is the most proficiency for me because I have 30 years. I've been in the all stages of the from starting from 2Z to 5Z, and now I'm moving to the 6G. So in the technical aspect and business wise, I'm very expertise in this space. So and then I know about what the specialty is required, especially for the you targeting this standard essential pattern means that your pattern is a part of the standard. So your pattern is kind of like a specification has a description of your claims, and then the every kind of like standard product, right? Your cell phone, whatever is utilizing like a 4G, 5G, or in the future 60, they implement this pattern, right? Because they should be infringed, right? That's why that this is a SEP. So it kind of like some particular different aspect is because this space require standard means that you need to be implement anyway. So there is a specific term they talk about is FRAND, right? So it will be focused on that area. So the characteristics of the licensing and the characteristics of litigation is a little bit different from the in a general aspect of the patent. So I will give you a better snapshot of the what this mean by in the SEP licensing. So in this case, actually, the one very hot topic is to they call essentiality evaluation, right? So I done many different type of I look at the more than thousand pattern I develop evidence use manually before, right? Because I involved huge acquisition kind of thing, and then I analyze Nokia, Ericsson, all type of the pattern actually out there to be acquisition, and then I provide the evidence used to whether they are good to acquire or not. So I have a very intensive experience as an expert, and then I done as a Tony in the space, and then also like sometimes you're involved in the kind of like litigation, and then you need to be further analyzed. They call like a Markman hearing preparation of the time. So there is a more level of the legal thing required, right? And I found that this is the very time consuming work. So that's why that based on my experience, it will be very good. Like if you have agentic AI that I expertise, and then implementing agentic AI as co-pilot to develop this kind of type will be very excellent. And then I tested many times. I found that they are very good to apply this space. Okay, so that's why that I targeting one specific. So I tested already I have a separate module that provide essentiality evaluation process. So it is based on that example. So it started like claim decomposition. So the difference between the previous and they are looking at the Ukraine element with the using product service element, right? In this case, it is targeting the specification, right? 'Cause for example, this is targeting they call the 5Z new radio, 5Z NR. So they have a specific type a bunch of the cities of the specification, right? Several thousand pages actually. You should look at it. So before when I done in the manually, I need to understand all specification document and then claim on interpretation and then one-on-one matching, something like that. So it spent a lot of time and then that was my was the main revenue because I generate one claim chart with a very high kind of like a fee that I found that this is can be done in the agentic AI very efficiently. I found that the interaction with me because in this case sometimes they find out some the clause of the specification is not perfectly match with some standard the pattern claim element. And then I provide adjustment like look at this one, look at this one. So it spends some time, right? So I found that one pattern analysis it takes several hours to get the perfect match, but much better, right? Because compared to the manual I done several days, I need to spend both sides, right? So then doing like a claim by claim, that's like clause by clause matching. So, so once you've done this essentiality evaluation, actually the other process is very similar, right? Because that the other license process is similar, right? So this is very rather than simple than previous because your evidence pack is very strong. Because once you evaluate as a standard as a pattern, right? And then you don't need to provide any evidence, right? Because other parties' product already developed and implemented based on they claim that we are 4Z LT or the 5Z and a compatible product. If they claim that, Actually, they implement standard, right? And then you have a proof that your pattern is a standard as a pattern. You don't need to provide any evidence, right? After the process is very simple, rather simple than like a traditional kind of pattern. So this is the one thing that this part, the first evaluation part is difficult, but the later part of it is a little bit easier. And then it look at the and then another thing that have something in the friend term, right? Because this is animal, right? Because for me that actually I when I attended the law school actually I was very interested because at the time there was a very serious debate between Samsung and Apple. They call like a smartphone war. So my thesis, when my graduate thesis about the friend licensing, legal understanding of the friend licensing was my thesis. I looking at the 4G LT friend licensing kind of thing. So I am very familiar with this stuff, and this is an animal still debate about the friend in over the global court. I will explain in the litigation part. So they are interrelated because so friend licensing is always so sometimes actually the for example recently there was a SEP pool so they get all the standardized pattern as a pool and then they provide like kind of like they call friend wise kind of like a different way because you can have a licensing royalty or just the fixed one the per unit product. Usually in this space, they prefer in the quote interpretation is end product wise license royalty. So base product is end product. Maybe inside there's module chips or whatever, right? But and they're based on like for example, pool based is a simple one is gather all the stakeholders together and then license in a like a very standard way to this way like a handset for $15 or maybe up to like 1 million handset $10 and then if you have more and the discount something like that otherwise you need to be like a term by term negotiation required right so this is one thing, and then it have you like negotiation and kind of thing is the same thing, right? 'Cause, and then this is a friend licensing negotiation, something like that. So this space, there are a lot of the company actually that they call professional company that all of their revenue is generated by this way. The one good example is InterDigital, right? They don't produce any product, but they innovate, and then they file a patent they all send us a pattern and then they license. The licensing revenue is they all the money, spend their money in part is their R&D and then developing new pattern. And they participate in the standard activities and something like that, right? So, and then also like they can be involved in the full and then some full members get together doing the one example is MPEG kind of like codec kind of the SCP is that way. So anyway, so it is one done. And then finally, I will show you very shortly about the litigation part because this part is very complex. The reason is that it not only the standard litigation patent litigation is already complex. The problem is that because the like how to interpret the friend licensing, right? It's a court interpretation is different in the different jurisdiction, different. And then there was recently there was several cases maybe have some kind of like a conflict each other. So that's why that this case is very separately. You should look at it. So and then it give you like the friend licensing kind of like a friend litigation type. The most important thing is venue, right? So it based on recent like a UK High Court, German, like recently there was a European EU Unified Court also the same thing, right? So there are a lot of litigation over the unified the court in the EU countries. So this is one thing, and then the evidence and the validity is very similar to licensing because they are standard. So it's just basing same thing like when you're doing is evaluation kind of like essentiality evaluation is very similar thing, and then give you the traditional strategy. But in this case, it's friend licensing and friend litigation. It give you more better way to understand what the current legal like matters and what kind of like a court decisions. So it give you to try to provide the best option for you to prepare your litigation. And then everything is same. And then give you the final report. Okay, so I'm done, right? So I will go over that explain because I already shared my uh presentation slide in my LinkedIn post and here, right? I will go to send out email when I send the link to the recording of this webinar. Okay, so okay, so I wanna go over whole this one, right? Because it's just a snapshot that because you will look at my presentation slide. So I provide here is the all the process of the patent licensing stage. It provide what this stage means and what kind of like current state about not agentic AI, but usually because you if you out there are a lot of vendors, right, providing their AI intelligence, right? So I just look at the landscape, and then in generally they can provide this kind of thing, and then so it have you looking for some solution in out there commercial solution, and then you can look at it decide, right? So and then targeted reporting and the evidence development because you already seen my demo, so I follow this procedure, right? Valuation thing like that, right? And then here I summarize pattern recognition intelligence. This is the same thing. Like there are a bunch of the vendors out there that claim that they're utilizing AI to support this kind of the process in the litigation. So I just summarize this one and what kind of things you can have a support in utilizing AI tool, right? So this is one then, and then finally turn to my framework. So mine is different from other is that as I told you that it is based on large language model. It's kind of like a ChatGPT like interface. It can be interactive with you through a multimodal way. Show that they are not steady, right? So a lot of tools are very steady, right? Because they have a rule base and then they just provide some limited sense of the flexibility, right? But here is a full flexibility. They adjust whatever. So all the answer, even if you have the same platform that I develop use, later you got a different answer, different report type, depending on how you interact with this framework. That's why that I'm generally I'm recently developing this kind of like as a general term, agentic AI human expert framework for for example the structuring that new type of the experts. So they call AI native expert, right? So this is one I'm promoting that my philosophy that how actually utilize AI better, right? It's a co-file with the human. And then so the thing is actually that not only the human can support from AI, but agentic AI self-learning. So the who actually teach the agentic AI is a different story, right? Because there will be outcome will be different. So that's why that it is both sides. And then for example, my agentic AI is supported by me because of my 30 years experience, right? It's a kind of like this framework that you will be getting better, and then also like your agentic AI getting better, right? If you interact more, right? This is my idea. So this is a mimic that what the framework, whatever you have expertise in IP, you can develop same thing, right? Because the general idea that I give you that develop framework based on your experience, and then on utilizing agentic AI, follow your framework, And then either prompt engineering or you can just coding, right? You can do that, or like me, I have innovators, I can do that, or you can support from some engineer expert to do that, and then design it, and then learn it, and then test it through the interaction. This is my idea. And then I once contributed to some kind of platform to provide you can do the similar thing, right? And so this I explain what is the agentic AI, and then Copilot I already explained you, right? So this is the way that actually I develop all my framework. Not only this one actually uh my next webinar will be about I will show you I tested not very well because it expecting what will be the standard in the 6C, and then expect forecast what kind of like innovation will be included in the standard, and then try to draft your patent. Right? So I tested the working barrier, and then also tested like a lot. I think that this kind of like there are many out there vendors. They say, oh well, you have here to draft your patent. That's very easy. You can do your own, right? Because I don't need like a tool because I can use my ChatGPT. I can do perfectly. I can draft my patent for traditional. But I also tested whether this is a job because, for example, the Interregister and the Ofina and other company like LG Electronics, Samsung Electronics, whatever, they're developing their standard as a patent. Actually, what they're doing is that the inventor, right, usually the engineer, they call standard engineer, they participate in standard activities and then innovate something and to be included in the specification during the time actually provide the invention note, this invention disclosure to the patent attorney, and the patent attorney drive it. And during the process, actually, that there is a starting from provisional one and changing the claim or whatever to fit into one. Actually, that process can be done by agentic AI. I tested it, it provides beautiful claim and specification, kind of like drafting, right? Because I will show you example next time, right? So this is one thing that you can do that. So I already give you that. I put all my idea that already developed the framework, and then utilizing that you show that what is function of agent AI. That there is a basic word is a perception, right? Knowledge, reasoning, use tool, use memory, and act. This is a basic process of agentic AI, and then I prompt engineering the process. All I could design and make a script in the prompt engineering to implement this one in my ChatGPT, and that will show the demo I today. So you can look at it and you can find out my intention, right? So I summarize this is demo, right? And then it just did the same thing, right? Okay, so this is one next one that I'm going to do is to kind of like in the 6C area that innovation is somewhat different. The reason is that because of AI native in network, right? So there will be different innovation, different standard activity, and then utilizing agentic AI to figure out what to do and how to develop the standard, how to develop the SEP. So if you're interested, you can attend this one. And this is another one that based on this, this is a request from IEEE, the Future AI Enabled Network group that the group chair contacted me that he's very interesting what I posted in my LinkedIn, and then he tried to understand in a different view, right? Because a lot of their talk is innovation. What if the future network based on AI? So AI native network is their research topic. So there are globally networked like I member of the wireless communication and other communication telecommunication experts together to like collaborate innovation. And then he approached me that because he looked at my approach, and then my approach is somewhat different is because I'm looking at not only innovation, and looking at AI, and looking at IP as an IP expert, the patent attorney. So he suggests about what kind of like a topic maybe you can provide for his group. So I decided this topic. So the topic is AI native 60 IP mode. So rethinking global policy for SAP FRAND. So based on my understanding, my own analysis, that agentic AI can have can have to reshaping this policy, right? So, and then I propose like some agentic AI based like a compulsory evaluation before you put in the edge side. For example, there are a lot of the pattern actually the what is if you are not in the space actually the issue is the company during their process actually friend licensing means that they should be declare everything, right? So they should be transparency so required. Without that actually later they will claim that you violate friend. So what they're doing is that there is the ETS HSI, and then they develop the database. So a lot of people declare that, self-declare that their patterns are essential pattern. But actually, the reality is there are a lot of vendors, including me. I did a lot of this kind of work in before that. Actually, the only 20% less than 20% actually truly essential. So that is transparency is not there. So I just utilizing identity evaluation framework to compulsory evaluation people posting as a declared patent. And another thing is a friend licensing term clearance. So how you actually evaluate it, friend depending on the global standard, right? So if you're interested, you can attend, right? Okay, so I'm done. So if you have any question or comment, whatever, because I'm share this recording, and if you're interested in develop the co-develop with me of the commercial version of the or the if you're interested in the in-house like implementation co-filer, I welcome it, right? You know that why I'm doing because the thing is, because as I mentioned that I, because as a PhD, I was a PhD, but I did my law school area. I was very interested in standardized pattern because I witnessed like a smarter pattern work, and then I witnessed like in the global sense some kind of like activities required, and then as a previous government officer, I did a lot of things. At the time, I had power because I'm representing Korean government, so I have a power to went to standard activities and to try to representing Korean industry, telecom industry, and then I have experience like for example, I have a drafted some kind of like study note and then debate about with other people and then put that as a part of the standardization I experienced around, right? Now I don't have any power now because so the thing that I can do is I know about the this is the right thing, right? And it'll be reshaped in the future, right? And then already in the like a big tech deep tech community, they know about it, what the power of the AI, right? You know about the what's going on, the meta, what they're doing is a super intelligent rap, bro. So AI native will be the future. And then the our law will be different as a like me as an expert, right? And then try to provide what will be the future and what will be the needed tool that I provide, even if nobody care about it now. I'm going to find out the way. The way I'm doing is that speak about it in many different phrases. So I'm attending many different speaking opportunity to talk about until find out some colleagues, other people to share the same mind, and then we will have a grouping, and then we can put this forward, right? So that was my intention, right? Randy, do you have any kind of the question or the comment or insight? Anything, David?
I'm not, thank you for the opportunity to speak, Dr. Lee. I'm not a lawyer or an inventor or innovator at the moment, but I did have a question about how do you address and document the needed human element of contribution? Because I've read there's a level threshold that's necessary for the human element, and that if it's not met, the actual innovation or the invention could become unpatentable and just enter the public domain, which I find kind of peculiar, but I believe that's
Oh,
how
I didn't
some of the
get
laws
your
are set.
answer, but usually the pattern is usually the give it the right for 20 years, and after that actually is a public domain is because of the you have you once you disclose your pattern, right? You know innovation, and then I can any people can utilize that information, right? further
Hmm.
develop or whatever, right? That's why that every government, right, could provide like mostly 20 years exclusive period to other people cannot infringe that one, right? But otherwise, actually, that's not if that is not the case. Actually, the everything will be the public domain, right? If it's disclosed as a document or whatever, right? So
No, yeah, that's what I was wondering, like, because it didn't kind of make total sense to me that that would be something that could happen. Because, like you said, someone could do all the legwork, and then now it hits the public domain, and and
and
pretty
then
much now the
that's one actually there is a patent law that how actually that's why that they call it the prior art game, right? So there is
okay,
a patent law in the United States. In the United States is different from other country before was that their invention kind of like a date, right? Because inventor, who is the inventor was a key before. Now, who fired first? So so other countries mostly who fire first, right?
exactly.
So I'm your neighbor. I know you very well. I'm looking at the stealing what you're doing. Are you innovating, right? Before that that in the previous law that you can claim that I'm an original inventor, right? This is me for me, right? And then
Right.
you argue about it and then you win. Now somebody sees, right? And they fire it, there will be big trouble. So, it's a public domain is defined a patent law. What is mean by the public domain you put in, right? For example, you put in your some of the like a trade secret means that people this group put in your like Facebook and LinkedIn, this is closing because everybody can see. And even that there is a law that if you just show to someone in your like working group, whatever, like 5 people or 10 people, it can be disclosure, right? So, but that's a
Sure.
very kind of like a legal matter, right?
Hmm.
But generally don't show anything until you file a patent.
Sure. Well,
That's why that you need a filing date, right? Because
thank you for
no
the
other people
explanation.
claim that they invent before you.
Yes. No, I thank you for the explanation. I understand it a bit
Hmm.
better now.
Hmm.
That's my only comment.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah. Anything? Okay, so today I actually satisfied because I'm starting from demo, so I show my demo, right? So anyone that interested in that to collaborate with me that have a pilot to implement it one because I just mentioned that the human part is very important, right? Because all my agentic AI from my experience, right? So, but there will be different experience from different area of the expert, right? So I need really like a pilot with other expert, right? Testing my agentic AI with other expert. What are the outcome? Very interested in, right? So and then until the test actually that I can not commercialize this one, right? So I want to pilot based on my POC and I'm looking for the partner, sponsor, whatever that make happen. I think that this will be very useful to the community anyway, right? Because it's not just automating, because it will be evolve. All the knowledge base will be evolved, right? So, okay, so how correct is the data for patent? Is the master database behind in Google Pay? Okay, so utilizing the patent information for me is that for example, the personal aid, I have a 3 years experience as an advisor to search firm. So there is a kind of patent service firm. They provide the private search. Usually, what the search firm doing is that they have their own database. Usually, that USpedia, for example, they sell their patent database putting in the CD or the large database, and then you can buy it, and then you can implement, right? I don't know about whether some company provide API that access the database, right? So if you have an API or a direct link to your database, I can get all the information I can have it. But currently, I just utilizing kind of like a Google patent link. So Google does not provide any API, right? So only way you can do is the same thing as you do. How you human can do. Put in URL, go there, and look at the content, right? So that's a limitation. But anyway, that's a lot of the generate error actually I experienced because the my agentic I provide like a URL, but if you went to the kind of like the difficulty is that because the Google doesn't allow like robotic access, right? You maybe have experience, you have access some website and they verify that this is not you are not robot. So yeah, incorrect. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, that's a hallucination, right? That's why that I need to, you need to be, when you are not using API and then you directly go into the database and directly search, if you want to utilizing based on URL, you need to be verified, right? I also verify, right? And then you need to pin down that URL specification and what kind of information you need to extract. Otherwise, actually, I found that, yeah, same thing, because they provide a very different answer. Actually, it's a long answer. They provide something. For example, title is completely long, so you need to verify. Okay. Okay, so thank you for attending today's webinar. So I will have additional the webinars that I show you. So if you're interested, you can attend it. And then I really desperately need Copilot, kind of like the with other people, like the pilot project to test my Agentic AI platform. And then also kind of like if you're interested, just contact me, right? And then I know that the through my three experience, when I propose something new, right, it's a hesitate, right? But anyway, because I think that this is very useful. It's really very useful for the society and innovation. So I'm going to do whatever I need, right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for attending today's webinar. Okay. Randy and other people. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.